Just purchased this vacant lot for our next new construction home build, which makes lot number 6 for us, and it only cost me $8,500. Here are a couple things that I personally like to check for before I purchase a piece of vacant land. So, depending on what you plan on doing with the vacant piece of land that you purchase, it's going to be especially important that you check the zoning for that lot. So, in this area, I know that everything here is zoned for single family residential, meaning you could put one home on this lot. However, if I wanted to build a townhome, for example, or a duplex, I'm pretty confident that they wouldn't approve that zoning change because everything else over here is single family residential. So if you wanted to build that before building or before purchasing the land, you would need to verify that they would actually approve it. This lot in particular, when I first put the purchase agreement or the offer to purchase this lot, I already knew what would be accepted from a zoning perspective, and that is aligned with what we wanted to build. So I could check the box in that area and say, hey, we're good to go from a zoning perspective. Another thing that's important to verify before going through with the purchase of a piece of land is the utilities. And what I mean by that is your water, your electrical, your sewer, and even your internet if that's important to you. But ultimately, in this area, because I built a few homes, I know that there is public water, which means it's city water, and private sewer, which we call septic systems. And then as far as electrical, I know that they have electrical in this area because there's already homes over here. And so when I'm checking these things, I know that there is water already in the street, so we can tee off of that and we can put our lines to the house. But also our electrical is not too far from there. Now, as far as the sewer, which would be our septic systems in this case, I have my engineer do what we call as a perk test. And that is ultimately an engineer testing the soil to see what type of septic system this land would be suitable for. So there are several different types, but the most common are either conventional or alternative. He can tell me what type of system that we will have on this lot. And then I can make a determination whether it's feasible to do it or not. The cost difference between an alternative and a conventional system can be 10 to 20 or even more thousands of dollars. So depending on what my estimated build cost is, if I have an alternative system, which is significantly more, it can blow my build cost out of the water. However, if I know it has a conventional, I'm more than likely going to be able to stay within my build budget. Also, depending on your project that you're doing, if there's not a lot of homes or other construction in that area, that is going to be significantly important to factor in. So for example, hypothetically, if there were no other homes in this area and I have to bring utilities 150 feet down the road to my site, that would be extremely expensive and more than likely, again, would blow my budget out of the water, which would not make it feasible to build whatever I intend on building there. Another thing that I check is the approximate size of the lot. And a very helpful tool that's free and is pretty easy to use is called the GIS map. So most counties in America have this GIS map, and it's an online tool where you can search any parcel ID in your area and it'll give you the relative lot sizes and other information such as tax assessment, previous owners, and things like that. You see, I've already had my surveyor mark the property corners on this one, but prior to even doing so and having to spend that money, without knowing if I really want to go through with the purchase of this lot, I go into GIS and it can tell me the approximate size. And then I can also refer back to the zoning information that I got to determine what my setbacks are. And all of this is important to determine what ultimately is your build box. So I know if my setbacks on the front are 35 feet, my setbacks on the side are 15 feet. If this lot is 60 feet wide, then I know I'm gonna have a width of 30 feet that I can build on this house. And then depending on what your drain field size is in this area for the septic systems, that will determine also how deep of a house I can build using the front setbacks, the rear setbacks, and setbacks for your drain field system. All of these aspects that I just shared with you are extremely important when it comes to verifying if your lot is buildable. And this is solely because I've heard so many horror stories about people purchasing lots that aren't buildable, or purchasing lots where it doesn't perk for a septic tank, and they didn't even verify if you could put a septic tank because they didn't know that septic tanks were required in this area. There are countless horror stories that I've heard of people buying lots and not doing their due diligence on the front end. So because I'm a builder, I'm also a realtor and an investor, I know how to shape my purchase agreements to mitigate these things. So things such as, your due diligence period, how long do you put for that? Your earnest money deposit. I even put in a perk test contingency that says if I can't build what I intend on building, and in this case, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, if the land doesn't perk for that and I can't build it, then I can back out of the contract and get my earnest money deposit back. But these are different aspects that you must factor in when you plan on purchasing a raw piece of land and with the intention of building on it. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you also like to check for when verifying if a lot is buildable. Also, click that subscribe button and follow us, because this house will be going up early part of next year. So continue to subscribe, follow, and look out for these videos.